Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Quianna Canada Show. I'm your host, Quianna Canada, and we have an interesting topic to talk about today. But before we get into that topic, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Remember that your likes, your shares, and subscribers, if you're subscribed to this channel, what it does is it pushes videos like this up in the algorithm. It tells the algorithm that videos like this are important. But we must be reminded that just because videos like this are not pushed up in the algorithm does not mean that videos like this are not important. Now that we have said that, give an announcement that I give weekly. And so the announcement is on transnational repression. And so transnational repression is where countries will reach across their borders to silence the dissent of their citizens. They do it in a number of ways. So they often do it through, uh, in the most extreme ways. So the hard tactics are extraordinary renditions, incommunicado detention, enforced disappearances, and in the most extreme cases, unalivement. Some of the soft tactics are digital threats and intimidation in the host country. And so I think that this is a serious practice that we need to bring awareness to because it is often mistaken for other practices, so toxic authority figures, authoritarian figures, and those who are sitting at the top in democratic regimes through, for example, Garda Síochána or police service of Northern Ireland, Europol, Interpol, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Any of these agencies that are putting uh, marginalized persons through transnational repression, sometimes they don't really have the physical access to you. And the only way that they can gain access to you is through people in your environment. And so they use people in your environment to, uh, I guess, perpetuate or perpetrate intimidation upon you. And so we are going to talk a little bit about that. But today's topic more so is grounded in, I think, communications and being able to keep our composure in racialized situations. So there has been a YouTuber who has spoken critically on this topic, or maybe scratched the surface of it. His name is Tariq Nasheed. And I know he's a very controversial figure in politics and social media because he has a different perspective. And that perspective also, well, it often involves comedy, which is, can be quite, I don't know, some people take offense to the comedy, but if you ever listen to some of those Twitter spaces that he is involved in, you can see, excuse me, you can hear that the insults go both ways. So it's what don't like about this particular situation is that we're often holding Tariq Nasheed accountable, but we're not holding anyone else accountable for the things that they say. And I think that that is unfair when that happens. And that, I think what that demonstrates is that we are in uh, a system of oppression where a person who is really trying to do good things for the community but is constantly attacked, and when he is responding back in a very comedic fashion, he's responding back in that fashion, uh, all of I guess the the criticism comes upon him and not the people that are in those spaces that are actually trying to provoke him. And so Tariq Nasheed recently uploaded a video, and his video was about remaining calm or using the right words in specific situations. What was that, the title of that video? let's see. How so his the title of his video was How Black People Can Win with Words. And so in this video, he, Nasheed was saying that sometimes it's important to use the correct verbiage and phraseology when you are in conflicts or when you are in I guess discussions with people or you are having I guess an encounter that could escalate. It's important to use the right words. And I agree with that. And so in the context of that video, Nashid spoke about how it's important also to remain calm in I guess debates that you're having with people or discussions that you're having with people. And I understand, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it can be difficult to remain calm because you're human and you have been blessed with the emotion anger like all of us, and we all feel anger at one point in time. And so this is a human emotion. It's not something that one person does not feel like it's not like, okay, some people are born with anger and some people aren't. No, everybody gets angry at some point in time or another. But I think what's important about this topic and the purpose of Nasheed raising this topic during his I think he's doing it on, Twitter Live or, these Twitter Spaces, is that he's trying to inform Black people that it's important for us to remain calm during high pressure situations and in circumstances where people in the dominant society will try and escalate the situation. And I'll give you an example. So in a particular situation that I have been dealing with, there has been so basically I have been trying to de-escalate the situation. And it has to do with my housing. So initially we have a disagreement about my housing. And so I'm dealing with my housing providers and we have a disagreement about where I am to be housed. And so what I did was initially I had a conversation conversed with my housing providers and I said, "Hey, I want to resolve this issue amicably. I want to reach an agreement that we are both comfortable with, and I don't want to escalate the situation." Because when there was a disagreement about where I should be housed, the housing provider immediately told me to escalate the situation by contacting uh, another organization that is attached to the situation, or contacting another person, or trying to escalate the situation. And ladies and gentlemen, I would warn you in certain situations, it's not advisable for you to escalate the situation because what the dominant society wants you to do is to waste your time. Essentially, they want you to be drained. They want you to be depleted of your resources, and one of your resources is energy. And so the dominant society wants you to go through this bureaucratic paperwork trail of escalating your complaint to these uh, bureaucratic corporations, or so that, for example, you're going against these corporations. It's just you. I didn't say that eloquently, so let me be more clear about that. So when you raise a complaint, it's you against the person that you're raising or bringing your complaint to. And you have an opportunity at that moment to resolve the complaint. And so there is really, although there is a power differential, the person that you may be going up against has more power than you. It is quite even at that level. Howsoever, when you escalate the complaint, so for example, if you raise it to a different organization, or or you take it to you take it up, right? So for example, let's say for instance you have a disagreement about your order from McDonald's, and you pull back, so you go through the drive-through and you say, hey, like my fries aren't in my bag, right? And or you go through the drive-through and you figure that you discover that your fries aren't in your bag. And so you pull back around and you say, "Hey, I think you forgot my fries." Now, at that moment, there is a slight power differential between you and the person at the drive-through, because that person in the drive-through could say, "Well, maybe you didn't order it. Maybe it's not on the receipt," etc. But then there is a good faith effort to resolve the issue. And I think that in circumstances like that, I think that they would be willing to resolve the the problem, right? This controversy. But what happens when there this controversy escalates? So let's say you go in, you park your car, you storm into the McDonald's and you say, there is no fries in my bag. And you throw the bag, and now you have caused a disturbance, right? And they call the police. And so now it's no longer about you and getting your fries, it's about the disturbance that they believe that you caused, and now you're being trespassed from McDonald's. Or let's say, for example, um, you are given a hot coffee and you drive, and then the coffee spills on you from the McDonald's. We know there's the hot coffee case that's infamous in the United States. And basically, you talk to the McDonald's people and you saying like, "I was burned with this hot coffee, like, can you please, like, pay for my doctor bills? Can you compensate me?" If McDonald's does that, then there is a likelihood that the situation won't escalate, right? But if, let's say, for instance, you are determined that you wanna sue, and McDonald's does not believe that it's a significant coffee burn, then now it's like you going against this huge corporation, and the power differential is even larger. And so that is what I'm trying to explain, that sometimes the dominant society will want you to be in situations, and I'm sorry that it took so long to get to this point, but the dominant society wants you to be in situations where there is a very large power differential, where you are battling a large corporation, and this corporation is going after you as a disenfranchised, disempowered, marginalized person. And the dominant society loves that. The dominant society loves when you are being oppressed by someone. So it's kind of like the devil incarnate. It's the devil, right? So the devil is looking up at your situation, and they're enjoying you in conflict. That's essentially what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. It's like The dominant society is looking through the lens of hell at you. It's the lens of hell, and they're enjoying every controversy that you get into, that they start through the use and the abuse of their intelligence capacities, through the use and abuse of their privilege and their power. They are enjoying everything that you get into, everything that they're putting you through, every circumstance that every controversy that they start, every annoyance, that they enjoy everything. They enjoy it all. And so everything that they put you through, whether it's having people dislike you, having people uh, attack you, having people uh, become angry at you who don't even know you because of something that they said, they love it. So your greatest defense in this situation is always to remain calm and to observe the dominant society and to really do uh, the- I guess put on the researcher lens and to observe the way that they interact and to observe how people treat you on the instruction of a very toxic authority figure is what I think is important. That's the most important thing that you can do. Now, are you going to get agitated or upset? Yes, because you are a human being. And human beings get angry, they get agitated. That's just part of being human. And to say that no human would go through something like that would be a falsehood. But what's important for you to do, I think, in this situation, together with Tariq's advice about using the right words, is to observe your environment and to study it in a way that brings you clarity about the people that really don't know you, but going against you because they are either getting an incentive or they're either just going on the bandwagon, so joining the bandwagon to attack you. This is often something that will happen is that one person will, so you have this toxic authority figure that will decide to launch an attack against you. And then you have a number of people that will come on board and do it just because this one person is doing it. It's like bullying, right? So you have this bully with all this power, and this bully is very powerful and attacking you, right? And so all that I think in a sense people are intimidated by that bully, and so they start to attack you too, so the bully won't attack them. And so some people, they collude with this bully to attack you. Some people just conform with it. They just go with the flow. They follow. But I bring this up, ladies and gentlemen, because how this ties into Nasheed's video about using the right words is that sometimes the dominant society will pull you into a situation where you are going to have to be able to speak for yourself. And sometimes you're going to have to hold space for yourself. You're going to have to defend yourself. You're going to have to advocate for yourself. And what the dominant society, the toxic authority figure that's sitting at the top, what they like to do most is they like when you are unable to do that, or when you don't even try, or when you can't do it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with not being an expert at it because we all don't start at as we don't begin in the expert phase. We start as an amateur, right? And so that's where we first start. And so what the dominant society likes is where you stay in the amateur phase of your communication, you stay in the amateur phase of being able to interact with people, you stay in the amateur phase of dealing with conflict. So, for example, the dominant society loves when you uh, have an encounter with, s- let's say, for instance, a police officer, and in that situation, you are stopped by the police and the police ask you questions, or they're being sarcastic to you, or they're being aggressive to you. And the dominant society loves when you come undone, and when you get loud, when you get angry, and when you fall apart, because then they can shape the narrative in a number of ways. One way that they can shape the narrative is they can say, "Oh, this person is angry, this person is aggressive, this person is dangerous, this person is violent, this person is mentally ill." These are the go-tos for the dominant society in the global north. They love to frame the narrative that marginalized communities, especially Black people, are either suffering from a mental illness, or either angry, aggressive, uh, combative, etc. And so they like for you to be at that low frequency where you are unable to articulate yourself, unable to stand your ground, and do so with conviction. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes there is going to come a time and a place where somebody is going to say something very disrespectful to you, and you have to let them know that you won't tolerate being disrespected. And i- if you don't ever rise to that occasion by letting them know that that is disrespectful behavior, they will continue to always do it. And so I think it's important for us to really, I guess, contemplate on this, because, whether this is a very serious situation, or whether it is, like a contretemps, it's like a minor disagreement. What I think is important is that for you to think about it, to think about that situation, and not only to look at it from your eyes, but to look at it from, like, the environment as well. And so I'll give you an example. So, as you know, I am an asylum seeker, and I'm an asylum seeker that is going through an international protection process. And so during this process, I have an encounter with security guards at the home office processing center. And so this home office processing center is where you come in there and you do your interviews. So, ladies and gentlemen, on the first day, well, this wasn't the first day, but this is the first incident, is where I actually came to the home office, and I had my purse with me, and I had personal things in my purse. So, like, I had, like, my camera in my purse, and I have, like, my recording devices, etc. And I did not intend to record my interview. I just had this with me because, again, I'm going through transnational repression. When I was in the Republic of Ireland, somebody got into my room and got access to some of my personal information. And so, since that situation happened, ever since then, I have not been like, I have been very careful about where I leave my personal belongings that have the evidence that I think it's important on it. And so, when I arrived at the home office, the two security guards told me to leave my purse in the hallway. And so immediately I told them, I said, "I feel very uncomfortable doing this." And they were like, "Well, this is the rule for everybody." And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry. I feel very uncomfortable doing this because one, if something comes up missing in my purse, then you guys are not going to reimburse me or compensate me for what has come up missing." And I said it just like that, very calmly. And then I said, "Two, if someone breaks something, you're not gonna be held responsible for that, and definitely you're not going to go after the person who stepped on my purse or took something out of my purse. You're not gonna go after them and on my behalf to get my belongings back." So I said, "So I think the safest thing to do is for me to keep my purse with me." I said, "It makes me feel comfortable because then I don't have to rely on someone to watch it, and then you don't have to watch it, and you don't have to keep an eye on it, right? So I don't have to rely on you watching it, and then so that releases a burden off of me thinking that I have to rely on you, and then that releases a burden off of you having to keep watch of my belongings. So it's better for me just to keep my purse with me." And then they gave me pushback on that and said, "Oh, now you're coming up with conspiracies. You're a conspiracy theorist." I was like, "Because I want to keep my purse on me. So is that what makes me like, you're alleging that I'm a conspiracy theorist because I want to keep my purse on me?" And so, ladies and gentlemen, when I walked into the doorway, one of the security guards was standing directly behind me, and he moved around in front of me, and I was like, "Excuse me, can you please give me my space? Like, I feel very uncomfortable with you, like, that close to me. Can you please, like, I'm asking for you to give me my space." And so then when I walked in, like, they were doing everything that they can to escalate the situation. So they were raising their voice, screaming at the top of their lungs, like, for no apparent reason. And I was saying, I was like, "Can we please de-escalate this situation? Like, this is a low stakes situation. Can we please, like, de-escalate it? Like, we're not gonna hear each other in this situation if you're yelling and screaming. So I wanna explain to you, like, why I want to have this in this office." And so even though I explained to them that I wasn't trying to record my interview, which in reality, I had every right to do. The case law supports me in that approach, that if I wanted to record my interview, I have every right to. Like, I'm unrepresented. I don't have a lawyer. And so people who don't have a lawyer, the case law specifically states that we are allowed to record our interview. But that's neither here nor there. At that instant, I was not trying to record my interview. And I told them, "Listen, I'm not trying to record my interview. I just want to keep like my personal devices with me because I don't want anything to happen to them. I don't want them to end up broken. I just want to keep them with me." And so I took out the batteries and tried to meet them halfway to try and meet common ground. So I said, I took out my batteries and then I said, "Listen, what I'll do is I'll keep the camera in my purse, but what I'll do is, like my USB drives, like my removable discs and things of that nature. Um, I really need to have this on me." And they were like, "No, you need to keep that in the hallway as well." And I'm like, "Sorry, I can't do that. Like, I really can't do that. Like, you're asking me to do something that is really not grounded in law or in policy." And so they refused me, which I think was outside of their remit. They did not allow me to have my interview. And so that was a highly charged situation where I had to like keep my composure and to remain calm. And so when my interview was actually rescheduled, and I was like, "Okay, am I going to go through this same process again? Because I am going to keep my personal belongings on me." And so when I arrived to the home office reporting center, the older security guard who is claiming that he's the manager of the place, what he did was he stepped out of the building and he was chastising me and really, like in my personal space, trying to assert his authority over me. And it made me feel very uncomfortable because, like, I just walked up, like, I wasn't even inside the building, and he came out with like aggression and attitude. And so after he did that, moved back from him, and there was an immigration officer that was like down, like there's like a street that's there, and she was down the street, and I talked to her. I was like, "Listen, this guy is making me feel very uncomfortable. Like he's yelling at me when I'm coming here, trying to assert his authority over me. Like he's standing over me. It's making me feel very uncomfortable and unsafe." And so he walked up and was calm when he was speaking to her. And so when she left, like he continued to raise his voice and try to assert his authority over me. And so I told him, Yes, I will go into the interview and I will keep my purse at the door, but there are some things that I need to have with me. And those are my removable disc. I don't have a safe place to keep them. And so I need to keep them on me. And so again, they were like yelling at me. And one of the security guards, like this big, stocky, big, tall security guard, he was standing over me. And like, it was just a very uncomfortable situation. Like I'm only like 5'6". And so you have like this 6 foot, I don't know, 3 or 6'4" person. I don't know, like his height, but he's very tall and big and stocky, like hovering over me and asserting his male dominance, over me. And then you have this other security guard who is just, asserting, being very misogynistic in his attitude toward me and trying to treat me as if like I'm scum. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. Like I felt very uncomfortable during those two encounters. And so what I did, ladies and gentlemen, was I wrote a letter to the home office and I said, you know what? I'm an asylum seeker. I've been in uh, a situation with police officers that was very harmful before. And I feel very uncomfortable coming to this center and having my interview. And I'm requesting that this interview be held like online or away from these two security guards. Like I don't feel safe going there. And ladies and gentlemen, please understand that one thing the dominant society will do is they will try and bully you because you feel unsafe. So they will try and make your feelings of being unsafe, try to translate that into you having a mental health condition. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just their way to take the liability and the responsibility off of them. You see, when they say that you are mentally unstable, or when they say that you have a mental health condition, or when they say that uh, what this is, it's a charge that is launched against your intellectual capacity and your ability to navigate toxic circumstances. And they don't like that because if you say that you feel unsafe in these situations, and of course, these situations are unsafe, what that does is it makes you the victim of the situation. And if you are the victim of the situation, then there is what? A victimizer in the situation. And so they like to turn it around and say that, no, we're not the victimizer. It's you. And so they can't say that you're a victimizer if you are calm in the situation. If you back away and you say, you know what, I feel unsafe in situations that are unsafe. And so their go-to when they've placed you in a situation that is unsafe is to say that, like, you can't possibly interpret that situation correctly, that it's you that needs, uh, to reexamine your mental state about that situation. And that's when you know that they have lost that situation because their go-to anytime that they go to a situation where they say that you are suffering from a mental illness when you are not, or that you can't seem to interpret a situation correctly when you can, this lets you know that they have actually lost that situation. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, what did I say? The security guard was standing over me and they were raising for me as a marginalized person in a new country. It's very unsafe for me as a person who is having two security guards that is very aggressive surround me in that situation. So it's very unsafe for me. And because that situation was very unsafe, I made a decision that was important for me. And that decision was that I didn't want to be in a situation like that. I didn't want to be in a situation where I had to encounter aggressive security guards that were, one, saying nasty things about me, two, stopping me from attending my home office interview. So they stopped me from attending my home office interview twice. To reiterate, I think that this was outside the remit. And I don't know if the toxic authority figure that's sitting at the top is actually doing that. I suspect that the toxic authority figure is having them gatekeep the process so I won't make it to my interview and have that interview, because I think that things are changing now where things could possibly be in my favor because of what's happening within the United States of America. So there is a very toxic authority figure who is sitting at the top that's very persuasive and manipulative. And so this person has persuaded um, these security guards not to let me into my interview. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what do you do in a situation like that? Again, like I said, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe because I didn't want to be in an aggressive situation like that. I didn't want to be in a situation where, like, I'm trying to accomplish a goal or I'm trying to complete a task. And then I have somebody that is standing at the threshold delivering aggression and delivering anger and delivering uh, grimacing at me, or not only doing that, but just acting really aggressive toward me and stopping me from being able to do what everybody else is doing. And so, like, I wrote a letter to the home office to reiterate, and I said, you know what, this situation makes me feel very uncomfortable because I was in a similar situation in the United States, and I just don't want to be in a situation like this. Like, I really want to have my interview, get through it, and not have to deal with intimidation in the process. I don't think anyone else is dealing with intimidation. I shouldn't have to deal with it either. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I did. And so there was no need for me to get aggressive or to get undone, come undone. I held my composure and I told them, listen, de-escalate the situation. This is to reiterate, this is a low stake situation. There's no reason why you need to get angry and yelling and screaming at me. And so this is just, I think what it does is it ties in to Tariq's Nasheed's video about using the right words and not allowing those who are looking to provoke you to do just that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't get me wrong. If you're being provoked 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days out of a year, there is going to be a time where, you respond, and that is human. But don't let them win by being aggressive and resorting to violence, because that's what they love to do, because they want to paint you as the violent person. And you are better than that. You have enough resolve in you to handle conflicts. I know it's going to take practice. We all go through it. Like, I'm practicing. It's going to take practice to actually handle conflicts and deal with controversies, and uh, to deal with adversarial situations. And I would invite you to really exercise your ability to remain calm and to think clearly about these situations. And I think that you will discover in the process that if it's more liberating. It's more liberating when you are able to walk away and say, that person tried to get me to come undone, so I lose something very important to me. And I didn't let that happen. And I think that that is something to give yourself a pat on the back when you're able to overcome a circumstance like that. It can be quite unnerving, and these circumstances are often difficult to contend with. But I think that you have it in you to practice, just as I'm doing, and being able to communicate your desires, whether you get them or not, is the beauty of it all, I think. And there you have it. This has been an episode of the Quianna Canada Show. Tell me what you think. What have you done to remain calm during a very stressed situation? Was the situation high stakes? Was the situation low stakes? Do you have any advice for people like me? Do you have any advice for the viewers on what to do to remain calm? Has a person in the dominant society abused their power and their privilege to make you come undone? If so, what was the situation? What did they do? And how did you feel about it? Did a person in the dominant society abuse their power and their privilege to try and make you come undone, but you rose above the occasion and you actually remained calm? In that situation, I want to know what happened as well. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook. I will link my Facebook in the description. You can follow me here at Real Quianna Canada. You can also like and share this video with people that are close to you. Subscribe to this channel, and I hope to bring more videos like this to you. Remember, never give up. Continue the fight. You got this. Until next time, bye bye.